Okay, everybody. Well, welcome to the Vendo Merchant Conference. Good to see everybody. And thank you for joining. I think we have people from the West Coast of the United States to Europe and maybe other places. So welcome, everybody. My name's Mitch Platt. I am the president and CEO, and I'll be your host today over the next hour and 25 minutes. By way of introduction, Vendo is a financial tech company, a fintech payment processing company, and we help merchants get fast, reliable payment processing. We reduce business complexities, decrease risk, and improve revenue opportunities with our cutting-edge AI tools. We've got two objectives. One is to help our merchants fulfill their potential, and the other one is create raving fans. So by way of that, the Vendo Merchant Conference was actually created to serve both of those purposes. We created the conference so that we can share data. Vendo can share data. We see a lot of data in our universe, so we can spot trends. So part of the conference is us sharing data, what's happening in the market, and then hearing from you, what are you seeing in the market, and having a conversation about that. Other things that we do in the conference is we bring in timely subjects or tools or events that are happening. So today, there's going to be a part dedicated to AI, and we're going to be sharing our journey of AI, and we have a guest speaker who's won the MasterCard Innovation Award, sharing his journey with AI and what they're doing. So that's pretty exciting. And the other part we do at the Vendo Merchant Conference is we make sure that you're up to date on our tools. What are we doing in terms of improvements, services, tools to keep and make our merchants happy? And then the other one is business related, which is Visa. Well, we're going to be talking about Visa regulations. So Visa and MasterCard, who we are near and dear to, are constantly coming up with new regulations that we have to comply with. So we're going to be sharing what those are, what we're doing to support you, and what you need to do. And then at the end, for the data piece, which is actually going to happen towards the end, we're going to play, we're going to have a quiz. We're going to use Kahoot, which is an online quiz platform. It's very easy to use. And we're going to be asking some questions about what you're seeing in your business, and we're sharing what we're seeing in our business. Now, when you sign up for Kahoot, you can use a nickname so you can be anonymous, right? And so you can share freely the information. Well, you can share freely, so it won't be tied to you. What else? We're going to be recording. So that, and we will share a recording for everybody and a transcript after the event, so you can focus on it, so you don't have to take notes, you can participate. I love seeing all your faces. More screens on, the better. We like that engagement. And an invitation. We do the Vendo Merchant Conference on a quarterly basis, as many of you know. I see a lot of you that consistently come. If you'd like to speak, present your company in some shape or form, let us know. Reach out to me, reach out to any one of the Vendo team members. We can give you that 5 or 10 minute snapshot for you to kind of share. Here's what we're doing. Here's our vision. Here's some challenges. As long as you're open to Q&A on that, we'd love to have, we'd like to invite more companies to participate with us. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our first presenter or guest speaker. It's my honor, it's my privilege to introduce Vendo's Director of Data, Chiska Priska.
Thank you, Mitch. So, hi everyone. So, as Mitch said, I'm Chiska, the Data Director at Vendo. I know some of you already because I have seen you before in this VMC. For the new ones, a pleasure to meet you. So today I'm going to be starting this VMC today with a presentation about AI that I'm very exciting actually to share with all of you. So let me go ahead and share it. Okay, I hope you all see it. So Vendo and AI, as you know, AI stands for artificial intelligence. And the first thing that I need to say is that this is a long-term relationship that we have been building with AI. But in this little talk, I'm going to talk mainly about two things. So one is about the ChatGPT, of course. So as you all know, ChatGPT just came here a few months ago and it was a boom. And thanks to ChatGPT, now AI is everywhere. So you go into Twitter and you see AI, you go in the newspaper, you see AI. Everyone is talking about AI. So let's find out why. And finally, I want to talk about Vendo, about the AI tools that we have that you can use. It's at your disposal. And finally, introducing my colleague, Greg, who is going to tell us more about AI and machine learning. So, boom of ChatGPT. All of this started on November 30th. So if you were out there like me, just having a coffee, and you log into your social networks, then suddenly you may have pop up into this type of tweets like ChatGPT, what's ChatGPT? Oh, ChatGPT answering questions, everything going crazy because of a magnificent AI that can solve all the problems that we have. Oh, we are going to lose our jobs because ChatGPT is going to replace us. No, this feeling was everywhere. But ChatGPT at the end is an AI model, is an artificial intelligence model that was promoted by OpenAI. OpenAI is a research facility that has been there for a lot of years, and maybe you know it because Elon Musk was part of the leaderboard. He actually, funny fact, he left in 2018. Just 1 year, it became a profitable company because he was not aligned anymore with the idea of OpenAI. And then OpenAI went this way, this famous. But if we go into details, ChatGPT is a type of machine learning model, which is a language model. So these kind of models are called large language model, LLM, and Greg will explain more about them. But basically what they do is to predict words. And this is the basic of machine learning. Okay, so machine learning learns from historical data and predicts the future. So it's like any of us, any human being. No, we are trained on past experience, and then we can act in future events. And ChatGPT is doing exactly that, but with language. So if you see this image, imagine that I have my model and I train it with sentences like cats are lovely, cats are the best, cats are pretty, this type of things, no? And then in the future, I go to the model and I ask, hey, cats are what? And the model is going to predict the word, and for sure it's going to pick one of those words. And that's basically what is behind ChatGPT, of course, with more and more information. So it's predicting this answer. And then there is logic behind it. And this is the basic of machine learning. And this is not new. So artificial intelligence has been here almost for the last 70 years. So it started in 1956. That's a long time already. So the terminology AI was founded in 1956 in the Dartmouth Conference. And then for the next 20 years, almost, they were playing with it. So they were improving this concept of AI. They started what it was called the models based on rules. So basically the same rules that a person will use to, for example, classify a basket of things. So if you go to shopping and then you want to classify your apples and put your apples on the fridge and you want your cereals to be on the cup, then you will apply some rules. And these rules were automated and were fit inside the computer, and this was called machine learning. And then after all these innovations, in 1997, we had another big boom of AI, which was Garry Kasparov, you know, maybe the chess master, who was defeated by an AI. So we had a machine learning model that was able to defeat a grandmaster in chess, and this freaked out everyone. Like, oh, God, again, AI is here, AI is taking the world, we are going to lose our job because of AI. No, that's not really what happened. So we had a very powerful machine, a very powerful computer that could test a lot of different strategies, millions of strategies in a very short amount of time. And that's what was the reason why it was able to beat, because we added to the machine this capability of repetitive actions, and this was also part of machine learning. Then in the 2000s, the AI applications just grow because of the internet. So people was using more and more internet, providing more and more data, and data is the source of machine learning, so is the power. Then in 2010, we got the deep learning. And again, this was already another boom. everyone talking about AI because deep learning is a different type of machine learning model, is an improvement, but it was very difficult to compute. It was a very heavy computation, and until 2010, when we started to using cloud computation, we were not really able to use it in our day-to-day life, but from 2010 we could. So that's why deep learning was here, and then now we are on the ChatGPT boom, which is just another moment. So, and here at Vendo, we actually follow very similar path. So we started in 2010, when actually we implemented this rule-based engine model. So the same that started the AI roadmap, we did it at Vendo, and we use it for fraud and for conversion rate improvements. Then in 2013, we did a little improvement on this, and we started using weight models. So this means the weight model means that we use those rules to, for example, classify fraud, but we just give more importance to some rules than others. So that's basically weighting. In 2015, we started with machine learning, and we started to talk about it because we are an AI company, we are a data-driven company, and we truly believe this is the direction to go. In 2016, we implemented another model based on Bayesian optimization that I'm not going to give a lot of details about it. I just wanted to put a fancy word on my presentation, so I sound smarter. And 2017, we did fraud models, user experience optimization models, cross-sell models. Some of these models worked because our pricing model worked, the fraud model works, some others didn't. And that's also part of our job, of my job, the data science, so test ideas, and sometimes they give good results and some others don't. And now we are on the AWS, we are focusing on forecasting for dashboards and for reporting, and moving forward with new ideas that we have about improving our models, fraud model using neural networks, which is the new boom also for machine learning, and we want to implement this. Soon, we want to keep improving our dynamic pricing also with new types of models that are now on the market, and for sure keeping with our reporting. So there's still a lot of improvement to do, but it's coming, and we are there. As I said, I truly believe this is the way to go. And finally, I want to finish this short presentation with a sentence that I like it a lot, and I will read it loud, a bit slow. I want an AI-powered society because I see so many ways that AI can make human life better. And this is a sentence that really defines our strategy. So use AI to make your life easier and better, but not replacing it. And with this said, I won't take more time. So let me introduce Greg, who's going to tell us more about AI applied to improvement of the checkout page. So as Smith said, he's the co-founder of his own company, the Vendo Payment Services. 2 decades of experience in data science. He has worked on major financial institutions, and well, he's going to tell us more about him. So Greg, all yours.
Oh, thank you, Siska. Right, let me get set up and take over. Can everyone see my presentation? I'll just take any thumbs up as an indication that everyone can see it before I start talking. Great. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thank you for letting me come and speak to you. This guy asked me if I was willing to talk today. But being a data scientist at heart, talking to large groups never comes easy. You can already hear it in my voice, and it will sort itself out in a minute when I'll settle down. But I always like to challenge myself by accepting like offers like this. And then I go on to spend the following few weeks kind of praying it will get cancelled. However, here we are. So aside from nerves and poor scripted jokes, I also suffer from the standard like technical leader feeling of imposter syndrome. So for your benefit and mine, some quick pieces of info about me. I spent 20 years in data science, strong focus on payments, going from credit risk to fraud risk to abandonment risk. On the left are all of the companies I've worked at in various different data science roles, from principal data scientist to head of data science at MasterCard. And on the right are some of the companies I've recently helped with fraud and customer onboarding. So I was at a conference last week called Money 2020 here in Amsterdam, and there was a number of talks I was intrigued by and wanted to go to. However, all of them just ended up being a sales pitch, which, to be honest, I found a little bit annoying. So today I'm going to try and not mention what my company actually does, And instead, I'm going to purely focus in on what I would be doing if I worked for you. And then towards the end, I want to cover some things I'm actually passionate about. And you'll hear when we get to that point, my voice will change because I'm super excited. I'm also going to try and keep this high level and not get lost in the weeds. But the only thing kind of standing in the way of everyone understanding this content is my ability to explain, not your capacity to understand. So good luck with that. To lay the foundation for our discussion, I need to briefly differentiate between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. This kind of covered it a little bit, but basically AI refers to the broader concept of machines stimulating human intelligence. Whereas machine learning is a subset of AI that focuses on algorithms and statistical models. And deep learning, on the other hand, is a subset of machine learning that employs neural networks. And you can kind of think of data science as being the wrapper around all of them. So it's come up already a load of times. Noisy elephant in the room is ChatGPT. It doesn't take 5 minutes before it comes back up. And my LinkedIn feed is just a constant top 10 prompts to use on ChatGPT. And here's a little pro tip for you. If you want to know the best prompts to use for ChatGPT, just ask ChatGPT. But taking a step back from the hype, the reason why this is such a big deal and how we can all utilize it more than simply asking to write scripts for emails and presentations. It really is. Now, ChatGPT isn't new, as Jessica said, it's been gone through multiple iterations, but each have been significantly larger than the previous one in terms of parameters. Now, large language models exist for a long time, but what's changed is our technical computing ability for them to run at an incredible scale. And in 4 iterations, ChatGPT has gone from 117 million parameters to 100 trillion. Now, large numbers like that are hard to comprehend and compare. So to put them into perspective, we can visualize the scale of these models by comparing them to everyday objects. So we've gone from a paperclip to a bowling pin, to the Arc de Triomphe, to the entire city of Paris. That's how much it has grown. Paperclip to the size of an entire city. Now, scale didn't come cheap, and just training that last ChatGPT model cost them 100 million, and it took 34 days of training time. However, it would have cost close to $1 billion a few years ago and taken well over a year to train. So it just kind of shows what's going on here. Large language models like ChatGPT, they possess an impressive understanding of context and enable them to generate coherent and contextually relevant responses. And it's this context that's setting them apart and providing so many opportunities for utilization. Now, most users only know the front-end user interface where you type the question and get an answer, but you can actually just connect up to ChatGPT via API and use those APIs as a conduit between you and your front-end or internal tool. This opens up a lot of new possibilities for businesses to enhance customer interactions and improve satisfaction that are suddenly very affordable, both in costs and manpower. Now, in front of you are 2 examples of Siri interactions. Siri was released 11 years ago and still struggles to understand context. These are real conversations taken out of Siri. I'll let you just read them for a second. And this is how ChatGPT responds to the same questions. What this opens up is the opportunity to deploy far more sophisticated chatbots via a very simple API integration. The other thing I wanted to focus in on was recommender engines. Now, they play a vital role in suggesting relevant products to customers, but by leveraging large language models to provide context-based product groupings, they can enable businesses to optimize the recommendations that they subsequently provide. Now, traditional recommender systems often rely on keyword connections, which can be limiting due to their inability to capture the full context. On the screen are just some examples where keyword connections with movies can lead to bad groupings between horror films and children's films. But by incorporating ChatGPT, LLMs, the context can be understood and appropriate product groupings can be applied to them to deliver more accurate recommendations. Now, in my company, we actually do this today via API with ChatGPT. We don't do any kind of recommendation solution, but we do apply product groupings to create features for our fraud models. I can tell you it was actually surprisingly easy to build and deploy. Now, in a similar vein, we can look at recommendations like basket suggestions that overlap customer A's purchases with customer B, and via commonality on one item, they suggest another. But this can often lead to kind of inaccurate recommendations or out of context recommendations, baseball bat and balaclava being the example on screen. And I didn't have to look very hard for this example. I'm sure we've all experienced surprises at items suggested to us. And we can also agree that Amazon is a sophisticated company with a strong data science muscle. However, even they, like Apple with Siri, they're guilty of missing some simple opportunities to enhance their solution. To tackle this, a quick API call to apply contextual understanding to purchases, take into account individual preferences, browsing history, demographic factors can produce far better results. On the screen is just a simple example in ChatGPT on recommendations if a customer is buying a baseball bat, and it kind of cuts off the whole balaclava scenario. I want to focus in on what this new wave of tools and techniques can bring to our constant battle with fraud, given that's my history. And first for me is that now we truly have the ability to apply deep learning models. Before, these take too long to train and deploy, and then too long to apply, but resulting in the majority of payment industries still deploying a very deterministic method to prevent fraud via rules and decision trees, like in a simple if this and this and this, then reject. But by leveraging neural networks, processing the vast amounts of data that they require, applying weightings between attributes, we can detect and prevent fraudulent activities far more effectively in a very probabilistic manner. I did have a few slides to talk about input, output, hidden layers, forward pass, back propagation, the usual stuff, but I'm fearful of sending you all to sleep. So whilst I still have your attention, I want to focus in on one of my favorite tools. This is when my voice will lift because now I'm getting to the exciting things things I find exciting. Here we go. Graph neural networks. Graph neural networks provide an innovative solution for fraud identification. They analyze complex relationships and connections between various data points. And these networks can kind of uncover patterns that traditional methods just miss. My go-to example for them is to think about the TV show Friends. Hopefully this resonates. And how the cast were in different ways connected to one another, be that as a love interest, living in the same address, a family connection. And I could have gone to town with this TV show with all the characters. But you can see here from just a small group of people, how a network can be born. Two things to mention, because this got picked up by my wife, that's not two Phoebes. One is actually Ursula, her twin, who had a relationship with Joey. So I didn't make a mistake. The second item that was really interesting was I actually asked one of my interns, because I was away last week at a conference. I said, oh, can you just make the slide? This is the idea around Friends. And she advised she'd never watched it, because it turns out she was only 2 when it ended. And I've been using Friends for years to explain graph networks, and now I think I'm going to have to come up with a new example. She suggested the Kardashians, which is not my forte. There's lots of ways to use them. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus and talk you through how we deploy them. What we do is, let's say we've got 10 different customers. So we're starting on the left here. What we can do is we can link all those 10 different customers together via email, phone, IP, device, BIN number, payment methods, the list goes on. And all of those linkages vary in importance. What we can do is we can apply weightings to them. For example, 2 customers sharing a phone number is far more important than 2 customers sharing a card BIN number or an email domain, for example. And then through the weight of these linkages, we can recognize communities of people. And so this is what we're doing here with community detection. After that stage, we kind of take a step back and we look at the individual nodes, or the individual customers in this case, and we predict fraud based on the individual features. And then we reapply the communities. And what we then can see is that we could group customers based on the fraud prediction of the entire group and not just about them individually. So in my example on screen, you can see how customer F looks good individually, however, strongly connected with a negative community. Hopefully I've kept you all with me through that. But it's a really good tool, and it's helped me a lot with identifying fraud rings on hard to spot items like promo abuse. Now, my final couple of slides are centered on a subject I'm really passionate about, and that's personalization of the internet. And I think we're witnessing a strong drive for greater personalization. As in a lot of ways, the internet is actually getting smaller. Social media is becoming less social, and customer expectations on the level of the experience they want are increasing. Me and my company, we focus on the personalization of the checkout and payment experience, but all companies need to be holistic and think about the entire journey. Be that dynamic content for each user, personalized recommendations based on the individual's taste, real-time behavior-led personalization, and then meet those needs across all of their channels. Yeah, tough ask. Now, I know a lot of that's quite hard to deliver to the exact individual level. But personally, I'm constantly surprised by the low-hanging fruit that's ignored. I would say 95% of the internet sits in this one-size-fits-all or regional camps. Get through cookies, device info, IP, etc. It really doesn't take that much to understand the customer a bit better and move into living an experience that's more tailored to demographic or behavioral attitudes. Thank you for listening to me. I know there's a lot of content, a lot to digest, but feel free to ask questions, or if you're like me and don't want to talk in front of a large group, feel free to contact me directly. There you go. I prefer Q&A.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. That was really good.
You could see how my voice changed as I went through it. I was really croaky at the beginning. I thought, oh, nervous, then it goes away. It's always the same.
I thought your opening was endearing, and I totally relate to speaking in public and the whole, like, it starts to, you get a little bit more comfortable, you start to warm up, and certainly where you were excited. So there was a lot in there that was really cool. So we're going to take some, if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or shout it out. I've got some questions for you, Craig, to start, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So one thing comes to mind, and probably for a lot of us, so we're, as you said, and as Chiska said, AI is everywhere now. And, some of us have started, Vendo's been in an AI for more than 10 years. Other companies are starting with machine learning, and they're starting to take a step into it, or now everybody's using it in some shape or form with their marketing and with their messaging. But do you think, is it necessary for companies, small, mid-size, should they have an AI specialist, a data specialist to take advantage of this? Or what's the best path? Where should you start, and what's the pathway to kind of get into this where you can leverage it?
So I'm a co-founder. I own an own business. There's only 9 of us, so we're quite small. Every single hire that I make, I often think about ROI in that person. It costs money. What am I going to get out of them? When I think about the application of AI and some of the AI tools that are just sitting on the shelf ready to be used, the ROI is really huge there, because there's some really fast improvements you can make with very little small spend, and you can just pick things up and kind of deploy straight away. So yes, to answer your question, in my opinion, you should have someone who's an AI specialist. Now, what that AI person looks like, I feel we're probably a bit more of like a hybrid of a solution architect, maybe with a bit of data science, kind of experience to deploy it, something like that. But anyone who's kind of real problem solving, get 80% of the way with a solution and then move on to the next problem. Yeah, sure.
Right. And so as companies start taking that step and investing in either someone, they're investing in a data science, or they're partnering with someone and they're starting to invest in AI, it seems like we're even in your presentation, there's a lot of different ways where you can go, and you have to choose kind of where you start, and then you have to be able to measure that return on investment. Do you have any sort of suggestions on where to start and how to track?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of A/B testing, like huge. In fact, my product only delivers in an A/B testing environment. So what that means is, if you've got some new solution you want to do, then just apply it to 5-10% of the population and leave the rest alone, and then just compare. Don't make too many changes at one time, but just review it. If your conversion or the KPI that you're looking to measure improves, then you can come back to it. And I think this is actually a lot easier to do than you think, because every single online session has a number at the end of it. It's a big, long string. It's a long number. If you want to send 10, 20%, hey, if it ends in a 1 or 2, then apply the new solution. If it doesn't, just keep it the same. It's quite easy to do A/B testing online. Yeah.
And then final question for me, and then we'll open it up. So if you guys have questions, get ready. We're in this group, we're mostly we're owners, founders, you have C-level executives. Something, myself as a founder and leader of a company, AI is moving so fast. What's your thoughts on policy? Should companies have policy? Have you thought about it? Are you kind of communicating this in some shape or form? Because we're getting a lot of information. We have to validate it if it's true. People don't know if they should be using it in the workplace, or fear of being replaced by an AI. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I play with a PII. So even as a small company, it scares me. So I need to make sure I adhere to GDPR. So yeah, kind of have to be a little bit careful, especially around things like IP, which becomes questionable as to whether that's a PII element or not. It kind of, if it's connected to other different things. However, I think if you take a reasonable measured response approach, you can still deliver personalized solutions without having to go heavy into the PII. I look in on payments and I see low hanging fruit. For example, that really always annoys me when I see Samsung Pay pop up and I'm on an Apple phone. That just doesn't make any sense. And that can happen in other common fields, right? Where there's just some really easy, simple things. Hey, where the IP is, so you can deliver a bit more tailored solution for that particular geo, for example. So just a careful, measured approach, I think, would be appropriate. And be careful with PII.
Well, thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take some questions from the audience. I'm not sure, Terry, was that your hand going up, or were you? No. Any questions? Give it a second. Some people are thinking.
I'm getting excited that I'm going to get away with it. So
all questions are good questions. Don't be afraid. Okay.
Feel free to reach out separately if you do.
Well, again, round of applause. Thanks, Craig. Really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing your knowledge. And thank you for the presentation. So next up, we have our Director of Payments and Risk, Fernando Latorre. He goes by Fur. And Fur is going to be sharing with us something that's really relevant to us in the online processing space and offline, the new visa regulations.
Thank you, Mitch. Can everyone hear me? Can you see my screen as well? I'll take the thumbs up. Thank you. So like Cisca, you already know me, most of you from previous VMCs. I'm Fernando. I'm the Director of Payments and Risk here at Vendo. And today we're going to be speaking mainly about the new update from Visa. We had a similar one a year ago from MasterCard. Now it's a turn for Visa. So the requirements are very similar, but there are some particular topics that we need to look at. So we'll jump into this and let's take a look at it. The first thing is that the new program for Visa content monitoring is no longer called GBPP, which stands for Global Brand Protection Program, but now it has been turned into VIRP, Visa Integrity Risk Program. So you will start hearing this word more and more. It's just basically an update of the rules to be on par with what MasterCard was requesting. And at the same time, they're tackling the needs for content review in the new kind of merchants that we're seeing in regards to streaming and user-generated content. So let's jump into that. The first thing that the new Visa VIRP program comes with is a new classification of high-risk tiers. Right now, they came up with a new classification, which is based on 3 tiers. And you can see that on tier 1, we're going to have activities that can cause significant harm to the individuals. And among these activities, we're going to have adult content merchants, dating and escort merchants, gambling merchants, and pharma merchants. Then tier 2 and tier 3 are also being considered high risk, but I think none of the attendees here today is in any of these activities. If you are, just make sure that you understand that you are now part of the high risk classification from Visa, which means that there are specific rules to follow for these merchants and specific fees tied to it. We will be focusing mainly in the adult entertainment merchants and what the rules are for. So the first thing, Visa for the first time is wording what is strictly forbidden on their program. No child sex abuse material, no incest, no bestiality, no non-consensual activities. Watch out with non-consensual because role-playing or fantasy game can be considered non-consensual. So please make sure that you are showing consent as explicit as possible. Then Visa is also mandating a quarterly review of all the URLs to make sure that the company details are in place, that the content is acceptable, and that the merchant is doing exactly the same as they were doing in the past. One more, Visa is requesting 2 minimum requirements for performers. One of them, they must be of legal age, and the other one is that there must be consent. And there are different kinds of consents that we will explore later. And this is also a new one from Visa, but it was already in MasterCard regulation. So the idea here is that merchants cannot use deceptive marketing practices to attract people to their websites. For instance, you cannot say that something is free on a banner, but then when you go on your site, it's not for free. You cannot you cannot use banners, you cannot attract people to your website with a strictly forbidden content like bestiality, non-consensual, or incest topics. Then Visa is also mandating for the merchants to have a complaint process on the website, and Visa is giving a rather short time frame to resolve the cases. They are allowing 7 business days to be resolved. This is basically for any complaint that you receive in regards to content. Maybe someone wants the content removed, maybe someone believes that some content is not acceptable. You have to make sure that you tackle this request with high priority and you resolve them in one way or another within 7 business days. Then Visa is also mandating that we participate into human trafficking and abuse protection. They're mandating all the merchants and payments providers to have some effective policies in place. At Vendo, we're going to become members of the Internet Watch Foundation to get you covered on this one. But anything you can do on your site will also be very interesting and very positive for Visa. Another one, which we're also used to, we need a monthly report of all the violations and how they were solved. This is something that was already existing for MasterCard. And finally, the banks are requesting credentials on a regular basis to review the content that is hidden behind the paywalls. This is a high-level summary of the regulation. Right after the presentation, we will be sending you a presentation with more information because these are just the headlines. Okay. So going into the streaming and user-generated content merchants, there are some particularities for these ones. If you are into the streaming or live content, or if you allow your users to upload their own content, you need to make sure that you abide to these 3 standards. The first one is that you're gonna have to write down an agreement with the content provider to make sure that there's not gonna be any illegal activity. You're gonna have to keep the IDs. You're gonna have to check the IDs and keep them in record. And all of this needs to be into the contract. We talked about consent before. So right here in this contract, the kind of consent needs to be stated. It can be consent to be depicted. It can be consent to be distributed. It can be consent to download the videos and pictures. Whatever is applicable to you, make sure that that is in the agreement with the performers or with the content providers. Also, the content providers that can upload content to your website must be verified. A verified content provider is an individual from whom you have the ID on record. Okay, it must be a valid ID and it must not be expired. Whenever you have questions, please ask for a new one because it's very important that only verified content providers are able to upload content on the site. And finally, you're going to have the ability to review the content before it's published on your website. Of course, this is not possible in case of streaming or live content, but in this case, you're gonna need to have the ability to take down the content in real time in case it's needed. And as Visa and MasterCard are used to doing, all of these new regulations comes with a nice set of non-compliance assessments that can be sent to banks, payment providers, and also merchants. So we will all be subject to some non-compliance assessments in case that there are some violations reported. There are 2 tiers for this non-compliance assessment. The first one is 25,000 USD per confirmed violation, up to 100,000 per merchant. But in case of child sexual abuse material, the minimum fine is going to be $200,000. So please make sure that you don't have any of this content, that none of your affiliates, none of your free sites are using any of this content, because remediation is expected in less than 24 hours, and otherwise big fines can arise. And finally, we wanted to tell you how we are helping you to move forward with this regulation, what you have to do, what you don't have to do, because we've got you covered in some spaces. For instance, when it comes to monitoring, we have the tools, we have the people to review your content on an ongoing basis, so there's nothing you need to do right here. We're also in constant communication with the acquirers and the schemes, and whenever we detect issues and whenever issues are reported, we will communicate them to you with the aim at solving them before they can snowball and become something really big. Then for the monthly reports we mentioned earlier, we're keeping track of all the potential violations, so there's no need for you to do anything else in here. We will be sharing this with the banks, with the schemes if they request it. And also we're helping you, we're supporting you with the complaints process through our customer support department. Whenever we receive a complaint that we think is necessary for you to receive as well, we will be forwarding it to you as soon as possible so that we can fix the issue. And finally, we can also help you with reputation, because we're at the last stage of the membership for the Internet Watch Foundation. We also recommend you to become part of any anti-human trafficking organization. It can be the IWF, or it can be any of your choice. So that's it for the new visa rules. I know it's quite a lot. Again, I said that we're going to send you more information after this VMC, along with a recording, so that you can review the regulation and fill in the gaps in case there are any from your company. And should I stop it here for questions?
Yes, thanks for that. Let's see if there's any questions in the room, and I had a question, because this Visa is basically sort of matching what MasterCard did previously. What's the difference between the two, or is there something extra that merchants in the room should be aware of and considering and saying, hey, this is something you have to do, or more or less we're covered with what we've been doing previously?
Yes, so there are a couple of things that I think are new in regards to MasterCard regulation. The first one is the prevention of human trafficking and abuse. Visa is requesting that all of us have effective policies in place. Human trafficking is known as the modern-day slavery. It can affect mainly labor, or it can affect sex workers. So it's important that you have policies in place to recognize this, that whenever you ask for IDs, you make sure that the person giving the ID is the actual person that is depicted on the picture, and so on and so forth. So this is something new when compared to MasterCard regulation. And also, I would like to mention specifically the deceptive marketing practices. This is something that Visa is really looking into. So if you are working with some free sites that are forwarding traffic to you, or if you're looking with some affiliates that are forwarding traffic to you, please make sure that all the content they use to attract users to your website is compliant with Visa regulation. And the last part would be about the agreements that we need to have with the content providers. This was already part of MasterCard regulation, but Visa is taking it one step forward, specifically stating which are the consent steps that need to be stated in the contract, and also the need for not only checking the IDs, but also for having them on record. Those are the main three differences.
Thanks. And then another question for, or sort of a, you know, I think there's a clear message here, and everybody needs to understand this. You're not only responsible for your own website, your own store, but you're also responsible for the people that are sending you traffic, for your affiliates. So if your affiliates are sending you traffic, and from your affiliates, there is content that's not meeting the regulations, your company and your site could be at risk. And we know this to be true. Okay, we've seen this. We've seen Visa take action against merchants due to affiliate, and their response was, "Hey, well, we didn't know it wasn't from, you know, it wasn't from us." But the response or the action that was taken, they didn't care, and so the consequences are severe. Not only do you get fined, you can get matched, you can lose your processing. So we're seeing this, and this is just a message from me to you: be conscious, be aware of who you're partnering with. Don't just accept everything. And as first putting out, the fines are significant, and they're quick, and they expect immediate remediation. So it's difficult. Any questions for Fernando on from the audience, from our attendees, related to the Visa regulations?
Mitch, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Terry. Go ahead.
Oh, right. I've got a question with regards to the content being within the date of the current passports and IDs. Most web classes, as you know, comply with 2257. I'm sure you're all aware of that. I'm just wondering, so any content that's out of date of the passport, we can't use that anymore?
The recommendation would be to get an updated passport as soon as possible, because in case the content is challenged and you don't have the ID on record, you can expect some issues. So my recommendation is to get expired passports or expired IDs from content you're still using. Yes.
Yeah, can I just point out that in my contract agreement, I do have something called in perpetuity. So whenever I've done a shoot, models realize that I can use this content like forever on whatever platform that I need to use it on. I'm just wondering if Visa, MasterCard will recognize my contractual work, my wording on my agreements, that the content belongs to me for life.
As long as the content is compliant, I am not expecting that you will be requested any IDs from this kind of content. Visa or the banks are going to request IDs and contracts when there's significant doubts that the case can be illegal, that there can be some non-consensual activity, or that there's some sort of sexual abuse material. In these cases, I mean, if you're pretty sure that your content is not going to be flagged, and we can help you review this as well, you're fine with the contract you have. But if the content is more borderline, or you're not entirely sure that it will pass the new Visa regulation, make sure that you have a way to retrieve the IDs either from your studio providers, from your content providers, or by having them on record.
Sure.
I lost you, Terry.
Oh.
Mitch, you're muted. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Looks like we lost you on your connection, but there is a question in the chat, Fernando, which is there a process to report a site that is violating this new policy, i.e. pirate sites? So this is the definition of they're the people that are responsible and the good players that are investing and making sure. And then there's other people that are making money but not playing with the same rules. Are you aware of any action or
Yes.
policy? Yeah.
Yes, my recommendation in this case is to reach out directly to Visa and MasterCard. You can also reach out to us so that we forward the complaint. But before doing that, make sure you cut out ties with all of these sites. But the general contact support emails from Visa and MasterCard are taking care of this process. That's actually a really good point. So along with the presentation, we can send the contact information from Visa and MasterCard that they will handle these requests.
Great. Thanks for
Yeah.
any other questions?
Question, but sorry, it's not really a question, but one thing I'm kind of interested in is how these regulations are going to keep up with AI generated content, in so much as we're going to, well, it's probably already out there, AI generated actors and content that's being uploaded to. So for example, the user generated content that could be AI generated in some form. You know, you're gonna have effectively adult content which is supposedly being generated with AI tools, and there will be no sort of model releases or ID for that, for those sort of acts. And also how as this stuff gets sort of like further down the line, you know, what's to stop a content producer sort of saying, well, that was all AI, you know, there was no actor involved in that content.
This is actually a very good topic because it's also breaking in the news, and we're starting to see more and more of these sites. The truth is that at the moment, neither Visa or MasterCard have any regulation in regards to AI generated content. They will abide to the same regulation. So even if it's generated via AI, it cannot be illegal content, it cannot be non-consensual, and it cannot be child sexual abuse or incest topics. Sorry. So that's the current position of Visa and MasterCard on the AI generated tools. And right now it's at the acquirer discretion if they want to accept this content or not. I'm pretty sure that in the next few months, 6 to 12 months, we will be seeing new regulation from these two card schemes in regards to AI generated content, because it will become more and more popular. And I mean, we've been in this industry for quite some time now. We know that Visa and MasterCard are onto something all the times. They're updating the regulation every year. So definitely we should expect some regulation there as well in the following months. But right now it's sorry.
Yeah, and I also think I think the point right now is it's at the acquirer level, and I think we're already seeing, you know, whispers or hints of acquirers that are not interested in taking the risk on AI until they understand it better. But it's still early days. So let's see, Neil. Let's see if we can get something out there and see if it works. Paul, did you have a question? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just sort of a bit following up on Terry's point. We've got content going back 20 years. We're never going to get IDs from a load of those models that we shot 20 years ago that's out of date. Could models use these as a way to force us to take content down? So we get a few older models asking us to take their content down because they've changed their mind and new relationships, etc. We do have a process in place, but could models get to know that this is a way of forcing sites to take content down?
That's again a very good question, and to be honest, my answer here is going to be I don't know if they will use this as an edge ways to force you to remove content. I definitely see some possibilities. But if the content has not been flagged in 20 years, I would say that there's a good chance that you can stand your case and keep the content on the website on the basis that you have a contract with this model and that you check their age back in the days. What do you think, Mitch?
Let me jump in here, guys. Hi
yeah.
everyone. My name is Thierry, and for the ones that do not know me, I'm the CEO of Vendo. So to answer your question, can models try to use the new policies to fight and try to remove content? The answer is yes, they can. But it's also true that a law cannot be applied retroactively, meaning that a new law cannot be put into the table and say, no, whatever happened in the past, this becomes a crime. That's not the case. So if I don't know, driving drunk becomes a jail penalty, you cannot go back and say, no, everybody that had that issue in the past now goes to jail. That doesn't happen. But nobody, I mean, given the current situation and taking into consideration also that Visa and MasterCard are defining their own rules, you may find yourself in some weird cases where models could come and say, hey, I did this video, it was non-consensual, and I'm fighting that. So here, the recommendation is make sure that you have good contracts. And if you think that your contracts are not good, are weak, consider removing the content. And I know it's sad, but it's the reality of the current situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Any other questions before we continue? And there's a comment in the chat. Thank you, Brian, for the comment. Okay, so Fernando's going to continue. He's going to give us an update on some of the alternative payment methods and discuss best practices. So, Fernando, back to you.
Thank you, Mitch. Yeah, so last part of the presentation, wanted to show you the APMs that we have available in case you're not familiar with them. APM stands for alternative payment method, which is typically any payment method that is not a credit card. So at Vendo right now, we have these three payment methods. We've got SEPA, we've got PIX, and we've got crypto. SEPA is mainly used across Europe, and not only the European Union, but also all the countries in continental Europe, plus the UK. PIX is a Brazilian tool, and crypto payments can be taken worldwide. Unfortunately, PIX and crypto don't have a recurring model at the moment. SEPA does accept recurring payments. So if you are set up for PIX and crypto, or if you want to be set up for PIX and crypto, please make sure that you have some non-recurring offers set up. Because if you don't have any non-recurring offer, the payment method will not be available. And in order to compensate for the fact that there are no recurring payments available with these payment methods, our recommendation as well is to extend the membership periods. And instead of going for the monthly membership, it's better if you can offer a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month membership with these payment methods. Important to mention as well that none of them have any chargebacks. They have rejections, they have some refunds, but chargebacks are not possible, and there are no limits to the amount of rejections that these payment methods can have. And the processing currencies are mainly the ones that are attached to the country of reference. SEPA payments are available in Euro and British pounds. PIX is only available in Brazilian reals. And for crypto, we can process more than 120 cryptos and several exchanges as well. The settlement currencies is the currency we get the money on. Of course, for Europe, it's going to be Euro. For the other ones is USD. But regardless of this, we can issue payouts in any of these two currencies of your choice. So if you're in the US and you're selling in Europe, and we are receiving payments in Euro from SEPA payments, we will make sure to convert this to USD before. So one thing is the settlement currency, the other thing is the payout currency. These payment methods, since they're local, people, especially the first two, people is used to using them, acceptance will be higher, and it's a recommendation to test them if you have some volume in Europe and if you have some volume in Brazil. If you're not set up with these payment methods yet and you want to do it, please reach out to us. Sylvia or myself will be happy to help you set up. And that's it from my side. Again, I'm available for any question about this presentation, about any topic in payments, and of course in fraud. So please reach out if you have some questions or some comments.
Yeah, Hans, go ahead.
Hi, Fernando. Thank you for the update. One question from my side. Actually, the last 6 months, we're developing our own payment plugin with developers from India, and because we want to keep with Vendo on board. And for a few weeks ago, we had an exchange between your Vendo tech department and our developers because of the implementation for a SEPA. And you said recurring isn't still possible. Is it now completely new that it's now recurring possible?
I would say that must have been a misunderstanding, because recurring with SEPA has always been possible. Maybe our developers were confused.
Can I forward you the mail?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay.
Yeah. So Hans, SEPA recurring is available for SEPA. It's not available for Pixin.
Yeah.
And,
okay. That's enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forwarded it to you.
Sure. We'll
Okay.
take a look at it.
I'll take a look after the presentation, Hans.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any quick questions for Fernando? Okay, so now we're going to move into the Vendo Data Byte. And the Vendo Data Byte is where we're going to share some information and some trends that we see happening in the marketplace. And we're going to do this with some class participation. We're going to invite everybody to join us in a Kahoot, which is a quiz. And Chiska is going to explain it. We're going to take a minute or two to get it set up. But bear with us. We encourage you to choose a nickname so it's relatively anonymous, and have some fun with us, because by participating, we're going to see what's happening in your business. We're going to share what's happening in our business, and then we can discuss it. So Chiska, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, so we took a risk this time to make the things more interactive with the Kahoot. But before jumping in, I want to do a very fast, if it's possible, reminder of why we do this kind of data reviews and what's the data byte. So basically, what we are trying to do here is to go ahead the KPIs, the key parameters indicators, okay? Because as Mitch said at the beginning of the VMC today, data is important for different reasons, and here I'm just throwing 3 of them. So the first one is the company health. So you need to measure how your company is doing, the effectiveness if you apply new strategies. So now we were discussing about new payment methods. Craig was talking about the API testing. So if you deploy something new, you really need to be able to check if that is working the way you are expecting it. So one reason. Second reason, patterns. E-commerce is a very pattern thing. So there are these fluctuations across the year. We know Christmas is a good period for selling. We know that we have the Black Friday. We know that even during the day, we have different patterns, and you have to be aware of them if you want to apply different strategies, different offers, if you want to get the most of the market. And the third reason, measure progress. So if you want to grow, you need to be able to say, okay, I grow this percentage comparing with last year, or this is my target for next year. So that's why KPIs are there. And if we can do this kind of conversation, share the values that we have seen in the market, this is very enriching for the past. So in the quiz, in the Kahoot thing, you are going to see some of the KPIs that we use in Vendo. So we will see things about the flow that is the normal flow that we see in the business. So going from traffic to sales, then managing subscriptions, and finally the cancellation of the subscription. So, you know, this can be measured on different segments. So you have different sites, you can measure your data by site. If you are deployed on different countries, you can measure it by country. And this has a really large impact. So, for example, countries, not all countries behave the same. We know that conversion rates in Europe cannot be compared to the ones in Latin America, for example, and you need to be aware of that. And a lot of KPIs that we will growing, so click-through rate, the traffic that moves from your product page to the checkout page. We also measure conversion rate, how many sales you got from all the visits that went to your site. We also analyze acceptance rate, so how many of the transactions that were attempted actually were successful, and the ones that did not go through, why? What were the main decline reason? Is there something that we can fix? Is there something that we can improve? Then we have the fraud ratios. We know we are in the high risk in the industry. Fraud is everywhere, so we need to be aware of those fraud ratios if we don't want to reach the limits. We have the upgrade ratios. If you work with cross sales and you want to measure some affiliates that you may have sending you cross sales or some partners, and you want to see if those cross sales are really converting into a sale, it's something that you need to measure. And then if you manage to get the subscription created, you have the lifetime value, so how much money did that subscription give to you along the life, and finally the retention, how long were you able to keep it with you. And then when you get the final of the subscription, cancellation rates, expiration dates, and if you're lucky, some repurchases. So if you can measure, you can improve it. That's the say. And with this, let's take the risk for the Kahoot thing. So give me 1 second to set it up. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, just let me know. If not, I will just prepare the thing. Mitch, if you want to entertain the people with a short joke, now it's the moment.
Well, I was not prepared for the short joke, but let me think of one.
I have one. No, maybe it's better.
Okay, I got one. Okay. So why was the scarecrow selected for a promotion? Why was the scarecrow
He was
selected
outstanding
for
in his field.
Outstanding in this field.
come on, you guys know that one. Good one, Neil. Okay. Why did the employee why did the employee working at the helium factory quit his job? Why did the employee working at the helium factory quit his job? Come on, Craig. I know it's a tip of your tongue. No room for growth.
Okay.
Susan thought it was funny. There you go.
That's
Those
great.
are my two business related jokes. Oh, look, we're here at Kahoot. There we go. You don't have to hear any more jokes from me. There you go. Okay, back to
that joke, Mitch, because I think it was so low level that then Kahoot is going to just stand up as an amazing thing. So yeah, guys, you have it there. If you have never used Kahoot, what you need to do is with your mobile phone, just go to the QR code. It will open a browser tab, and then just use a nickname. It can be a funny one. It can be a real one. Don't worry about that. Or you can also go to the kahoot.it URL and just put this number in, and you will be also there. So we will have 1 minute to read the question and then go for the answer. You will see that it's pretty straightforward. So I suppose we will not have a lot of issues around it. Yeah. Like that one. So there is points if you get the right answer, of course, but this right answer is a bit like this. So here we are going to show what we have seen during the first quarter of 2023 from the data perspective and from the Vendo perspective. It doesn't mean that this KPI reflects your own business, because if you are focusing on a very specific type of niche, or if you are doing some specific offers, you may not see exactly the same results that we are going to show, because as I said, this is a generic view, but our idea is to open a conversation and share some points that maybe are interesting for you and for your future strategies. So don't feel bad if you don't get the right answer. You can also have points if you go faster than anyone else. So that's another option to win. Yeah. And as we are just running out of time, maybe, are we okay with this, participants? Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah, let's move forward.
Let's move forward. So everyone ready? Yeah, let's start. Fingers crossed. Okay. So, Vendo data bike. First question, here we go. What is our feeling with traffic? Did we expect an increase or decrease for Q1 compared with the previous years? So, guys, you know, we come out from the COVID just like last year, and COVID was bringing traffic up for all of us. So what do you think? And now that we are back to normality, we are decreasing traffic, or we have seen an increase because people is getting more and more used to use online content? So as I said, there is no wrong answer. Yeah, well, I haven't explained, but
There are wrong answers.
it depends on the perspective, Terry. So I think I don't need to explain how to answer. No, it shows up on your mobile phone, the icon to press.
Yeah,
So
I think everybody, most everybody answered. So I think we're
good to go. Well, 5 seconds. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's quite spread. Yeah. So actually, traffic decreased slightly, very slightly. So it's 5.4% overall, which means that we stayed on average. There has not been a lot of changes comparing with the previous year, or at least from the Vendo perspective. So yeah, who was the Speedy Possum? You are the first one. So moving to the next one. Did this decrease in traffic affected the sales? So, you know, less traffic theory means less sales, less people coming to your sites. But let's see, sometimes it's not that way. Yeah, I think we are good with 11 answers now. It's the same number we got before, so yeah. Eight people saying true. No, in this case was false. So actually sales has increased 9% compared with the previous year's first quarter. As you know, so the conversion rate, the amount of sales you got from all your traffic, this depends a lot on the segment and on one thing that we call traffic mix. So for example, if you are getting more visits from a country that converts better, and you are decreasing visits from a traffic that has a poor conversion rate, then your conversion rate is actually going to increase and your sales will increase, even though you are losing traffic. And this is why we will move to the next question. Okay. Thierry, you shouldn't be participating.
I'm gonna stop.
So which of these countries you think contributed the most to the increase in sales? So, as I was saying, the traffic is very important, the combination of traffic you have on your sites. So yeah. Oh, or this question is harder, or we are, yeah.
It's a trick question.
It's a trick question, I know.
Or maybe it's not a trick question, but it's a little bit more difficult. Remember, everybody, the answers that we're sharing are the Vendo universe. Your particular company website mix is going to be a little bit different. But the reason we're doing this is so that you can see a little bit of what we're seeing in our universe, so you can benchmark. And then we can, we can discuss it.
Exactly. So yeah, 9 answers. Oh, we discouraged 2 people due to the difficulty of the quiz. So yeah, I will go. Yeah, wow. Actually, Poland was the one increasing more the number of sales. And I was expecting this to be more people thinking about it, because last year, Poland was reported as one of the countries with most interest on adult content. and it appeared on the list of top 10 countries. And I didn't make this up. I actually have the article that explains that Poland was on the top 10 countries that are more in adult content. So for me, it was not a surprise that actually in 2023 it increased. So yeah, I think we have a clear winner. So next one. From our view, the acceptance ratio stayed on average, but we actually saw a decrease in declines due to two different reasons, or reduction of timeout errors, or less declines for 3D secure authorization. Yeah, this is a difficult one, I know. But I had to put something challenging. Yeah, 9 answers, we are fine. Oh, no, actually we got a decrease in declines due to less timeout errors. So technology has improved in this Q1, and we have less of this error. 3D secure authorization actually increases the declines. So rules, well, as Per has explained it, are becoming more critical, and security is a top point. So we need to request some 3D a bit more than before. So, and this has this effect of decreasing declines. So
You stumped the audience, Chiska. Everybody got it wrong. That's a good question.
I know. So sorry about that. And we need to keep up with the market with the offers update. For Q1, which offer type got the most acceptance increase? As you know, we work with membership, lifetime, trial, and token. And as Per was suggesting for SEPA, so sometimes you need to work with this to decide which is the best strategy depending on the payment type that you want to provide. So this Q1, we saw some changes here. I can tell you already that membership is the biggest one, but it's not the one that increases the most. So here you have my tip.
You're helping, you're leading, you're leading the witness because you thought everybody was going to click membership, and you're going to feel bad.
I don't want another like the previous one.
The audience again.
Oh God, I skip it. Sorry, because I clicked just on time. It was token.
What was
Token has been the one with the highest increase. So people is using more and more token. And here, actually, the merchant need to tell us why they prefer to set up token, or why people use more token. I have investigated a little. Maybe it's because it's easier now to set it up, or people feel more comfortable using token, but token are gaining more and more importance. Speedy Possum, you are winning. Next one. What is the average retention we expected for Q1? So as I said, retention is the amount of days that we expect the customer to stay with us to renew the subscription. This number, take it into consideration that we use Q1 data, so we didn't have a lot of time to measure it. It's still a preliminary value. Okay, one more to go, I think. Yeah, now we are ready. Oh, yeah, there was not a lot of difference between days. 84 days. 84 days is the average retention we have seen in Q1. Not a lot to say here. That's more than 2 months, not even 3. Nothing else to explain. Oh, okay. Here we have some changes. And yeah, that's the last one. Risk patterns that change over time. For this first Q1, in which country did we see an increase in risk, in fraud? So this is very important. Risk patterns change always. And countries that were safer, now they are not that safer anymore. Yeah, Turkey. That was the one. That was fast. Was this an easy question, Mitch? Too easy?
You know what? I don't know, because I didn't actually, well, I got the answer correct, but it could have, it could have been China, potentially.
Yeah. So how to prevent this? So if you have this thing, well, risk, we all have risk. Use smart tools because it's very fast. The change of patterns happens very fast, and if you don't use the smart tools to catch it as soon as possible, then you will have already a fraud attack and you will not be aware of it. So AI here can help a lot, and this is my tip. And that's all. So thanks for joining. I hope it was fun, and I hope I posted it well. So that's all for the Kahoot. Yeah, guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chiska, for the data bite. It looks like Craig won. I was going to say the winner gets a new car, but I didn't say that. So it's not in the transcript. Maybe next time, you know, a bottle of champagne, but that was fun. Any questions or anything that was coming up when you were looking at that compared to your business that you'd like to share or discuss?
Also, if someone is interested in the actual values, the percentages, let us know, because we have this information, as we have said in previous VMCs, we have the data and it's available for you if you want more information, more precise information.
Great. So a couple operational notes in the chat. Sylvia's already posted. If you scroll up in the chat, we're going to be hosting our next VMC September 7th. Like to see you all there. And we'll have, like always, we'll have some special guest speakers. We're going to bring someone in specifically talking about how to grow your revenue in your members area, if you have a members area. So that's going to be a topic for September 7th. There's also a link to sign up for our newsletter. If you're not receiving it, please do. It has a lot of valuable information. And then finally, Sylvia, I'm not sure if you put the survey yet for the survey link, and Sylvia will pop again the survey link one more time. We would like to improve the Vendo Merchant Conference, and the only way we can do that is through your feedback. So if there's any ideas that you would like to share with us for improvement, please do so. And remember, we are looking for speakers, people that would like to share about their business, share about their vision, their challenges, and willing to take some questions and answers. We strongly believe by standing on the shoulders of others, we can see farther and we can get farther. And so by sharing your business, your challenges, we all can learn, we can all grow together. So that's an invitation. And right now, we are going to move towards, well, any questions, comments? Great. So we're going to move towards the networking part of the event.